The death of George Floyd has set in motion a chain of events which is legitimizing white genocide in the eyes of Black Lives Matter and the useful idiots who helped them. It is a war, but it is not a war for racial equality. It is not a just war. It is a battle for revenge, for black supremacy, for nothing less than the annihilation of the white race. Hi, me again. Glad to be back in the UK at long last after 3.5 months stuck in Spain through the blackout, through the lockdown. Still worried very much about what's going on in the future and how my children and grandchildren are going to fare. George Floyd's alleged murder at the hands of a white American police officer lit the fuse on a bomb that has been waiting for such a trigger for many, many years. The Black Lives Matter organization have used Floyd's death to start a war. I would remind all UK citizens that race relations in the UK were much better than they were in the USA. I use the past tense because Black Lives Matter and the useful left-wing idiots have set race relations back 50 years. They have created hatred where there was none. In the UK, white privilege per se does not exist. Any pockets of privilege were heavily legislated against, despite the fact that they weren't just given there because you're not born white and therefore you've got privilege. That's not true. If you've got any sort of privilege, and there are people with privilege, it's because you've worked and earned it. So any pockets of privilege that there may have been were heavily legislated against, and many advantages were given to people of colour. For example, there is a Black Police Federation. You've heard all this before. There are Muslim-only housing associations. There are no Christian-only housing associations because that would be racist. There's awards for books of black origin, none for books of white origin because that would be racist. There are employment agencies that recruit only non-whites. The BBC, for example, recruits only non-white trainees using a loophole in the race relations legislation. That loophole was designed back in the 70s when this legislation was first came in. It was designed to encourage non-whites to apply for training jobs. But now the BBC is using it exclusively and has been doing so for a decade, so that in another 10 years' time, there will be only non-white technicians working for the Beeb, chosen for their skin colour and not for their ability. This is anti-white racism. In the police, there are courses to help people get through their exams, but they are not open to white police officers. We have Black history taught as a separate subject in universities. Surely all history should be taught together, black and white and yellow and brown and pink and green. Sorry. But I wonder, in those black history lessons, how much emphasis they give to the part that blacks and other non-whites played in the slave trade. Another quick reminder that 100% of the slaves who were transported from Africa across the Atlantic during that terrible period were in the first instance captured and enslaved and sold to white people by black people. So they are at least 50% responsible for the trade, and their economies are based on the slavery. So stop accusing us of it. But white involvement was minute by comparison to non-white involvement, and it was white countries that fought to stop slavery, although it still does go on in parts of Africa and the Middle East. And don't forget that more whites were enslaved by non-whites than vice versa. If you don't believe me, look up Barbary pirates and find out about the Ottoman Empire as well while you're at it. So how is it that Black Lives Matter has managed to persuade the useful white idiots to support them? Well, they use a clever smokescreen. In fact, the left is very good at this. Antifa is an example. Anyone with an ounce of common sense and a modicum of education will know that fascism is a left-wing ideology. It's about big government, state control, a tyrannical control of everything. When Mussolini founded the world's first fascist party in Italy, he thought that democracy was a failed system. He thought that liberty of expression and liberty of parties was a sham, and that fascism would organize people under state power and state control. To this end, he believed that anyone who disagreed with fascism should be violently removed. And this one might shock you. When Hitler formed the Nazi Party, Nazism grew out of fascism. When Hitler formed the Nazi Party and they needed a manifesto, they went to America. They took a copy of the left-wing Democrat Party manifesto, removed the word black and put Jew in its place, and hey presto, one Nazi manifesto. And if you read Mein Kampf, apart from anti-Semitism, you will see a lot about workers' rights. So bearing in mind that fascism is a left-wing ideology, the fascist organization Antifa is a far-left communist supporting group disguised as being against fascism and using this disguise built into their name to persuade useful, uneducated young idiots to believe that shutting down the right is a fight against fascism, little understanding that this is a typical fascist tactic. If you can't argue about the facts, shut down the argument, censor any opposing point of view, and use violence and intimidation whenever you feel like it. Calling these fascists anti-fascist is like calling the Boy Scouts Girl Guides. They are the opposite of their name. And so it is with Black Lives Matter, the organization. Black Lives Matter as a philosophy, I've said this before, is fine. Black lives do matter. I believe that. I believe that all lives matter. But we're not supposed to say that. But the name Black Lives Matter suggests a laudable philosophy. But look at the facts. Black lives only matter to Black Lives Matter if they were affected by white involvement. What are they doing to stop black on black crime? Which is far worse than any white on black crime. Have you seen what's going on in London at the moment? All those stabbings, 80% of them, I think it is, are black kids killing other black kids. Such a sad thing. And nobody's doing anything about it. In fact, it is being encouraged by people like Sadiq Khan, because then he can blame Whitey for it. He can blame Westminster for it. He can blame anybody but himself for it. In the meantime, there are a lot of bereaved black families being let down by Sadiq Khan and Cressida Dick. Something about the name Dick, I think. In the USA, sorry, I'm going off the subject. In the USA, whites are more likely to be killed by the police than blacks are. But in the UK, the police rarely kill anyone. They're not routinely armed when patrolling the streets, unlike the USA. So how is it that one bad policeman in the United States, 4,000 miles away, killing one black criminal who is resisting arrest, how does that translate into every British police officer being a violent racist? Well, that's down to identity politics, another tool of the left. Putting people into groups means that if one member of the group does something bad, then everybody in that whole group must be bad. And for some reason, the thick idiots of the British left-wing useful idiots seem to think that all British police officers are like one bad American police officer. To you, I say, next time you're mugged, ask for help from a hippie. So, in Minnesota, we see blacks burning down their own neighborhoods, which is a very intelligent course of action, if you don't mind me saying so. But in the UK and other parts of Europe, whites are metaphorically burning down their own neighborhoods too. And it's causing a true existential threat to the white race. Because the new battle, led by Black Lives Matter, is not about racial equality. In the UK, if that were the case, then they would be fighting a battle that has already been won, as I explained earlier. No, this is a battle for supremacy, a battle for revenge against what they think whites did to blacks over 250 years ago, despite, as I have just explained, the fact that the blacks did more of it and for longer. It's a battle to rid the world of the white race. This is not my opinion. This is a stated aim by Black Lives Matter's leaders. Black Lives Matter Toronto co-founder Yusra Kigali, for example, tweeted about killing men and white folks. She also tweeted that whiteness is not humanness, In fact, white skin is subhuman. Black Lives Matter state in their manifesto that they want to remove the police. The last time that happened was in Nazi Germany, when Hitler removed the legitimate police force so that his brown shirts could roam the streets at will, Antifa with authority, and no one to safeguard the innocent. So while stupid black people in Minnesota are burning down their own homes, their own shops, their own jobs, even more stupid white people are burning down their very existence by supporting Black Lives Matter, just because they are too thick to see that the name is a lie, and the true aim, written into their manifesto, is to destroy the family, remove the police, dismantle capitalism, wipe away the status quo, replace it with anarchy, and then take over the world. Think about it. I'll see you.